Has your teen hit a wall with math? Every lesson, may turn into a battle. Every day ends in frustration. And there's arguments of trying to get them to do the math, to sit down and do the work. And we start thinking maybe they're just not math people. Maybe I am not a math person. So, what do we do here? This is a common frustration that we all have in the homeschooling world, especially as we move and transition into higher level maths. We got older kids, have stronger opinions, and this is a frustration. And to call it anything else but frustration, and then the feeling that we are perhaps failing our kids, or that they are not going to be set up for the future, or that we're going down the wrong path. All of these things just are a bitter battle in our mind, and then our kids have the same battle, right? They're saying things like, "I'm done with math," and maybe there's other subjects too, right? They're watching friends, and they're seeing opportunities, and they're seeing things that are happening out there in terms of, hey, Johnny's doing a better approach because he's doing a different program, or Susie, she's going to a co-op, and all things look better, right? So what's going on with us? I mean, are we failing? From mathematically speaking, we usually should see this, and I said, when I say we, I just want you to know it's not just you. This is we. We all struggle with it, especially, now maybe some of the dads are like me and they're not heavily involved in the schooling day, but I hear it, I see it, and from us as a family, it's frustration. So it's a we. It's a we, and I have yet to have met anybody, no matter how disciplined, no matter how focused, no matter how intelligent, no matter how good their kids are, everybody has this struggle, right? You hear it from all your friends. You hear it in your head, and we do. We think it's just me, and everybody else is doing it right. Well, they are. Maybe they are doing it right, but this is part of the battle. So, but as we move into high school, again, the lessons get a little bit harder. They get a little bit more frustrating because I'm moving into subjects that are not as cut and dried as they were, not only mathematically, but in other subjects too. And we're dealing with kids with a lot of different things on their mind than they've had in the before. They've got sports and activities and friends, and things are just moving at a higher pace. And up to now, we've been kind of pushing. It worked. As many people have entered homeschooling, we're at early grades, we're excited, and everybody goes out to the curriculum fair and they buy all the things, or they order it online, and there's an excitement about it. But as in all things, they're messy in the middle, right? There's excitement in the beginning, and then there's a celebration, or just I'm glad it's over with, maybe in the end. And we've been pushing through for years, especially for those of you that have been doing this for many years, and you've been doing this for many kids. The only thing is you may have some perspective, but they're all different, right? Every one of them handle these things different. They come to the battle in different ways, but we feel like it's an uphill battle that we can't win. So we start thinking, maybe it's time to quit. Maybe it's time to go get a co-op. Maybe it's time to send them to some dual credit options. Maybe it's time just to go back to public or private school. All of these things come into your mind, and even if you're not verbalizing them, you're thinking them, right? Everybody does, and even if mom is not thinking them, dad is, because there's challenges, there's things, and you're starting to have doubt, and like I said, the doubt is normal for all of us. But here's what's really happening. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit from the perspective of what we see, maybe even at the university. Is this a lot of people will contact us. We've had their own problems, and the same, as we're talking to customers, As we have been working with customers over the years about their battle, we have the same battle. You know, the irony, right? People are asking us for help of how to get their kids to move through math and do these things, and we're having that same battle here. So at least we understand the battle, right? And you might doubt whether we understand the solution or not, but that's another story. But here's what is happening. It's not a math problem. It's not that suddenly the math has gotten incredibly more difficult, or the English or literature or whatever your battle is. It's not that these things are necessarily worse. It's a momentum issue. You've had great momentum, probably. I mean, with hiccups, but you've had pretty good momentum getting into high school. And then there's all kinds of things are changing, right? Your kids are changing. We're a little bit worn out. We've gone to curriculum fairs X number of years now. This may be, child number 7, however many kids you have, right? But it's not that your teen is broken, or that you are broken, or that you are failed, or that you're just bored and tired. The truth is, math, if we just peel back the layers and look at the math subject, math hasn't stopped working, but it's stopped being relevant. And it's not as if kids, when kids are first learning things to count and things like that, well, there's some relevance, right? We're counting, we're doing things, but now we've moved into a mathematics that it's hard for them to see the relevance as well. And let's be blatantly honest, it's hard for them to care because there's so many other distractions in their life that even if they could see the relevance, it's hard for them to feel the relevance of what's going on. So before you jump, what I want to do today is just help mom, help dad think through some of this before you jump and leap, because that's our nature. We want to fix it. We want it to go away. We want our kids to be successful and feeling satisfied, if we will, that they're and enjoying it as much as reasonably possible. But so before we quit and go to a dual credit option, or send them back to school, or throw curriculum away and start over, which is very common in the homeschooling world, maybe thinking about what's really going on. And so since we do see this problem in math, maybe more than other section areas, but it's really presents itself everywhere. At this point in time, mathematically, it's no longer about formulas. It's no longer about learning language. It's no longer about just science for the sake of, hey, here's a bug, or here's what a cell is. It's no longer memorizing things. It's more we're in a mode of character. We have to start thinking. We have to start, and for all subjects, right? If you're doing literature, if you're doing history, you're finding the curriculum is pushing them outside of, hey, this is just the facts, and what do you think about that? How do you deal with that? How do you live in a world with that? How do you explain this? How do you explain what you believe? And you're really pushing back on things that's mental development at a different level for them, and that's frustrating for them, right? And it's like us trying to learn a new instrument. Once you can play the piano, sitting down to practice the piano might be enjoyable, but it probably wasn't so much fun at first. And even if you can play the piano, and moving to something that the next level of complexity becomes uncomfortable, difficult, right? And that's where we are. We're not shifting just mathematics. We're shifting what they're thinking about. They now have moved from raw numbers and pictures and diagrams to critical thinking, to doing analytics, to what we would call in mathematics abstraction. Things are a layer or two away from reality. And we are describing reality now with mathematics, just as we might in English or something, or literature, describing reality with words, or in music, we describe reality and emotions with music. So that's what's happening here is an abstraction and forcing us to think. Now, so it's normal that they are at a point of new growth, and new growth is difficult for not only the student, but it's difficult for the teacher. Right? We face this at the university. It's no different. We are not immune. If you are a college professor or have college professors in your family, just ask. There are moments of growth that happen that are frustrating for everybody involved. And as faculty sit around in meetings talking about things at the university, we know where struggle for electrical engineers, we know where the struggles are. We know where they're going to be. They're always there. We talk about how to make it smoother, how to get through to them, how to help them. But it's still going to be a struggle. Can we improve it? Maybe. Maybe not. A lot of our faculty are like, it's part of the struggle, and they got to get through it. That's the growth. And that's where I want you to think about. That is the growth that we're looking for. The struggle is what we're trying to teach. We as parents, we as humans, we want to run from the struggle. We want to say, I want to fix this. I want to say, throw this curriculum out. I want to say, stop doing this thing. Let's go back to school. Let somebody who's expert at handling this handle this. I'm telling you, I'm an expert at teaching at the university level. Same thing, right? Maybe we're just numb to it. But the growth is the point. Think about this. All growth comes through challenge. Little children, when they are learning to walk, you watch them and they will get up and walk, and some of them find it frustrating, but some of them will find it funny. They fall down. That's expected. They didn't know how to walk, so they aren't really surprised that they fell down, right? And early on when we're learning things, that's kind of how it is. We might even laugh at things. I remember even as an adult trying to water ski my first time, and so I was with my brother in water skiing, and it was a miserably disastrous experience for me, but it was funny. I mean, I would fall over and crash as well as you can on water skis. And so my first couple of times I was laughing because I didn't expect to know how to water ski. I would watch him do it and think, yeah, I've never really done that before, and that looks like I could just smash my face right into the water. And you know what I did? That's the expectation, right? And somewhere along the line, when we learn things, even we open up a piano, we get a guitar, we get a new ball to play a game. We have this somewhat expectation that we know how to do things, and then it's frustrating. Then it's really frustrating. I don't know where that comes from, but we start getting into frustration at thinking something is wrong, and that is the key. When your student cannot if you put them in front of a piano for the first time and they cannot play a song, we don't think something's wrong here. I've got a defective kid. I've got to send them back. We don't think that. We think you're learning. Did you do anything? Could you play any notes? Could you make a sound? Could you get just a couple of individual notes to make it sound like the song? That's success. We see that. The kids may not, right? But we see that. We don't take it so personally as a parent, and let's hope that they don't take it so personally that they are not an expert piano player on day one. But that's what we think of when we think about education. Education is pushing people through or pulling ourselves through discomfort. Every amount of growth that we ever have as a human being comes through discomfort. We fall down, we crash, we go boom. We can't do things. We make mistakes. If we are cooking and it's the first time, we burn ingredients. It tastes terrible. We throw it in the trash. If we're doing woodworking, that didn't turn out so hot. That all turned out in the trash too. Moving through the frustration, having mistakes made is expected. That is where we learn. As a matter of fact, I will challenge you. Do you think about the things that you know best for whatever thing you do? Maybe it's in the kitchen, maybe it's in the shop, whatever things. The things that you have really ingrained that you probably talk about all the time are lessons you learn from making mistakes. Right? So it's no different now. We are being educated, and we are seeing the mistakes made, and we want to run from them. We want to run away from them. We want to say, I just don't have to do this. The temptation is even, a lot of parents will say, well, I'm just going to skip these subjects because they don't matter anyway. Maybe that's true. But let me just flip that around for you just a minute, because let's just talk about mathematics. They're probably going to have the struggle. It's just, when are they going to have the struggle, right? If a child doesn't learn to walk at whatever age they learn to walk, then they're 5 years old and don't know how to walk. Well, the struggle's still going to be there, right? If I couldn't ride a bicycle at this point in time and I have to ride it later, the struggle's still going to be there. There's some things we can decide never to do. We can decide never to water ski, but the struggle is often there for things like math, for critical thinking. I have seen adults, engineers, technicians, people in the trade, people that didn't go to college, people that did go to college, who might have avoided math or did the bare minimum and didn't really understand it. Yes, including some engineers. And then in their jobs changed, as their job changed, they needed geometry and algebra. We didn't call it that on the job. That's not what we call things. We call it calculating, things like that. It wasn't that they were rusty, or some of them were rusty, some of them never knew it, but now they were stuck and they felt like they had to start over. And that was a frustration. I've watched many grown men who don't have enough math background now encounter, and I'm thinking, people in the trades that I've seen this with, encounter some basic geometry or mathematics and they don't get it. And they know they should. They know they're expert at what they're doing and they struggle through it. So what they've done is they've just delayed their frustration to another point in their life. And the others might have seen it before and they're like, well, I've seen this before, I've got to refresh on it. And they know it's doable. It's like riding the bike. I can get back on the bike and figure out how to ride it. So, but it's learning. I think we all know you never quit learning. And with everything we have to learn, there is frustration. That is where learning happens. Growth occurs right on the other side of discomfort. Always, whether it's a sport, whether it's academic content, whether it's emotional growth, it occurs on the other side of discomfort. That's not my words. You'll see that over and over again. So if us as parents, we can just step back and breathe that. And I know how hard that is, because even in saying this, even in knowing this, I know Leah and I, we've had these moments when we're sitting here saying all the same things. Let's punt. Let's do all the possible paths. And we know the truth, and the truth isn't a lot more. It's like I'm tired. I got to run another mile. I still got to run the mile. It's still not comfortable. I still got to go through it. But there is a little bit of hope knowing that this is part of it. So if the math, we'll just talk about math, if it feels like a battle now, that's probably not failure. That's growth. Now, it may be growth for the student. It probably is definitely growth for the student. Maybe it's growth for us as how do we guide, how do we lead them? Because we are no longer leading little children. We are leading adults or soon to be adults. And boy, that's a that's a battle. That's a big battle. So my encouragement to you, it's just as we hear this from so many parents, so many students, not just about math. Take a deep breath, step back, reconnect why you started doing this in the first place. What was your motivation? What is your, as Simon Sinek says, what is your why? Why am I doing this? Why did we make this decision? Is that why still there? Are you going to punt what you've worked for and give it up to somebody else to manage? Many of us have watched our kids be, or watched the world be educated by people we don't trust, by ideas and values we don't trust. And they're not all in public school. They're in private school. They're in homeschool. What's your why? What are you trying to accomplish? You can get through this battle. This battle is temporary. There is hope. There is joy on the other side of this battle. We've experienced it in that way. You've probably experienced it before. Reconnect to that. Look, and when you get ready, if you need some help with the algebra and the geometry or some of the higher level math, we're here to help you. If you need just help going through some of the things that we're talking about right here, email us at support@askdrcallahan.com. But I just want to encourage you. You can make it through to the other side of the battle. See you next time.